marijuana be made legal in the U.S.? Stage 4, Team 3. Mariana Cárdenas Aguilar, Annette Rodríguez Jiménez, Regina Caballero Contreras, Grace Andrea Rodríguez Ontiveros, Arián José Treviño Jiménez, César Orlando Montes Villarreal. Scientific method of social sciences. Exploration. The sales of marijuana for adult recreational use has been legalized in 9 U.S. states since 2012. It appears to have increased frequency of cannabis use among adults, but not so far among teenagers. Governments that propose to legalize and regulate cannabis use should fund research to monitor the public health impacts of these policy changes and develop ways to regulate cannabis use.
Making marijuana use an offense causes more harm than marijuana itself, because some users are arrested and receive criminal recourse just by having marijuana with them.
Planning scientific method steps. In the step 1 in teams, we first made an investigation and research on different sources of internet and which is a topic interesting to us. In this case, which is a case where the central idea is if recreational marijuana should be legal in the US. After finishing our research individually, we read and analyze all the cases, and after that, we defined the problem and made an hypothesis in the practical research and also the analysis discussion. In the third step, to start working with our essay, we divide into all the members of our team the things that we need to include in our work, in which we include and explain in a narrative text all the techniques and methods that we use in the research of social sciences. Finally, when we all finished doing our essays recovery, we made the final conclusion of the case in which we explain and restate the main argument. We also include all the strengths of the argument.
Execution. Legalization of cannabis is more common in North America, some countries in Europe, and the number of states using it is still increasing. The inclusion of cannabis has been controversial, and there have been many public campaigns to legalize its use. Legalization is better than a criminalization because it will eliminate the illicit market or be used with a medical purpose.
Evaluations should inform the design of policies to reduce cannabis-related harm after legalization. The use of these psychoactive substances has accompanied the development of civilization. Many of these substances have been widely used as medicinal in religious ceremonies and as recreational intoxicants. Consumers tested health warnings about the risks of cannabis use, especially the daily cannabis use, such as cognitive impairment and cannabis dependence, and researched to develop more effective ways of discouraging adolescents from starting cannabis use.
Communication. Studies of the effects of the legalization on motor vehicle crashes are inconsistent. There are limited data on the impacts on treatment seeking for marijuana use disorders. The legalization of marijuana markets has already substantially reduced the price of marijuana and increased its potency, and prices are likely to fall further if legalization becomes national policy in the US. In the longer term, experience with alcohol suggests that more liberal regulation that provides legal access to cheaper.
Research techniques. Documentary. Documentary techniques because the information was obtained by data and statistics. Questionnaires. The questionnaires used were surveys, and they were structured, such as the U.S. surveys, the U.S. drug surveys, the National Survey on Drugs Use and Health, and surveys in Colorado and Washington. File cards. File cards used were bibliographical, and the sources of information were primary, secondary, and tertiary. Then, finally, the approach used was the historical approach,